Have you ever caught yourself looking at the empty side of the bed, the quiet kitchen table, or the chair in the living room that's been untouched for days and felt like the silence was just too loud? If you have, please know you are not alone. Losing a spouse after decades together, it's not just a heartbreak, it's a life quake. It changes everything. And while nobody is ever truly ready for that, there comes a moment when we have to gently ask ourselves, what now? Life after 60 can already feel uncertain sometimes. Our bodies change, routines shift, and energy isn't what it used to be. But when your partner, the person who's been your teammate in life, is no longer by your side, it can feel like you have lost your compass. And yet, even in the quiet of that grief, there's still life ahead. There's still purpose. There's still time for joy, for peace, and even for growth. That's why this conversation is so important. Because the truth is, if your spouse dies first, there are some crucial things, emotional, practical, and personal, that every senior should do, not to just survive, but to gently rebuild a life that feels meaningful and manageable. So let's talk heart to heart. This isn't about legal documents or cold checklists. This is about real life, your life. And if you're watching this, I want you to feel comforted, understood, and empowered. The first thing, and it's the most important, even if it doesn't sound like it is, to give yourself permission to feel everything. Yes, everything. The anger, the confusion, the deep sadness, even the strange moments of peace or relief. It's all valid. Sometimes, after a loss, people feel like they have to stay strong or keep it together for the family, especially if you were the caretaker during your partner's final days. You may have been carrying the weight of two lives for a long time. But now it's your turn to stop pretending you are okay if you're not. Grief isn't a straight road, it's messy. Some days you might feel capable of cooking dinner or going for a walk. Other days, just brushing your teeth might feel like climbing a mountain. That's okay. Be kind to yourself. Don't let anyone rush you. You are not falling behind. You are healing. Now, as you slowly begin to navigate this new chapter, one of the most grounding things you can do is reconnect with yourself. This might sound strange, especially if you were married for decades. You probably built your identity around your relationship, your routines, your plans, even your dreams. And now it's like you are standing in a room where the furniture has all been moved. So, what does reconnecting with yourself look like? Start small. Ask yourself, what do I enjoy now? What brings me peace? Even if just for a moment, maybe it's listening to old songs that remind you of your youth. Maybe it's sitting in the sun with a cup of tea. Maybe you have always loved painting or gardening but never had the time. This is the moment to gently lean into those things, not to distract yourself, but to rediscover pieces of who you are outside of the we. And here's something that might surprise you: loneliness and solitude are not the same. It's very normal to feel lonely, especially in the evenings when the house feels too still. But over time, solitude can become a gift, a space where you get to listen to your own thoughts, follow your own rhythm, and even make new memories that are yours and yours alone. This leads us to another quiet truth. You can create a new routine. It won't look like the one you had before, and it won't feel natural at first. But structure, especially after loss, is one of the kindest things you can give yourself. Even simple things like waking up at the same time, going for a short walk each morning, or preparing one healthy meal a day can gently bring stability to your days. There's also power in staying socially connected, even when it feels hard. It doesn't mean throwing yourself into crowds or pretending you are in the mood for big conversations. It just means not isolating. A short call to a friend, sitting with a neighbor, attending a small community event. These small moments of connection are like little lifelines, reminding you that while your partner is gone, you are still here and you still matter. You might also consider finding a grief support group, especially one that's geared towards seniors. There's something profoundly healing about sitting with others who get it, who won't tell you to move on or stay busy, but who will simply sit in the silence with you and nod because they have been there too. It's important to remember this isn't about getting over it. That's not a thing. You don't get over someone who was part of your soul, but you do learn how to carry their memory with you while still walking forward. And slowly, step by step, you realize you are not just surviving, you are living again. Now that we have talked about allowing yourself to feel, reconnecting with your identity, and the power of small routines and social ties, let's take this even deeper. Because as you start to find your footing again, there's something else that quietly creeps in: the question of what's next. Not in a rushed or pressured way, but in that quiet, honest sense of wondering, how do I live now? How do I create a life that feels mine? This brings us to something that often gets overlooked after the loss of a spouse: financial clarity and independence. Now, I know just the word finances can feel overwhelming or even painful. For many couples, one partner usually took the lead in managing the money. If that wasn't you, facing it all alone now can feel like being dropped into a world you don't understand. But here's the truth: you can understand it. And more importantly, you deserve to feel secure and confident about your future. Start by gathering everything in one place: bank accounts, pension details, life insurance policies, investments, bills, everything. You don't have to do it all in one day. Take your time. You might even ask a trusted family member or a professional to sit with you while you go through it. There's no shame in needing help. What matters is that you are stepping into your power, not as someone left behind, but as someone stepping forward. Once you have gathered the information, the next step is to simplify and prioritize. What are your monthly expenses? What income is coming in? Do you need to make adjustments? Maybe downsize the house, sell an extra vehicle, or eliminate things you no longer need. These aren't losses, they are adjustments. And every smart decision you make now is a step towards more peace, more control, and less stress in the years ahead. Also, think about this. This is a moment to revisit your own plans, update your will, medical directives, and powers of attorney. These are gifts you give to your future self, and to your family because they prevent confusion and heartache down the road. Now, let's shift to something that's less practical but just as vital: finding purpose again. After losing a spouse, life can start to feel like it's just happening to you instead of you living it. You wake up, go through the motions, and wonder where the spark went. Here's something I want you to hold on to: your life still has deep, meaningful value. Your experiences, your wisdom, your stories, none of it has expired. You are still a whole person, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. And one of the most powerful things you can do right now is begin to explore what gives your days meaning again. That might look different for everyone. For one person, it might mean volunteering, sharing your time and compassion with others who need it. For someone else, it might be mentoring younger people, passing down the life lessons you have earned through decades of living. Maybe you write, or paint, or take care of your grandkids. Maybe you learn something new, join a class, pick up a hobby, travel someplace you have always dreamed of. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or flashy. Sometimes it's as simple as waking up and deciding, today I am going to take care of myself, or I am going to make someone smile. That is purpose. That is life being lived even after great loss. Another thing that may come up often when you least expect it is the possibility of companionship again. Now, this one stirs a lot of emotions. Some people feel guilty for even thinking about it. Others are afraid of being judged. But here's what I will say: companionship is not a betrayal of your past, it can be a tribute to it. Loving again, or even just letting someone in to share a conversation or a walk, doesn't mean you're replacing your spouse. It means you are still alive, you are still human, and you still need connection, laughter, warmth, and presence. Some people may choose to remain single for the rest of their lives and find deep satisfaction in that. Others may open their hearts to new friendships or even romance when they are ready. Both choices are valid. What matters most is that you honor what you need, not what others expect. And let's not forget, your health, both physical and emotional, deserves extra care right now. Grief doesn't just affect your heart, it affects your body too. Your appetite might change, sleep can be disrupted, energy levels may drop. That's why it's so important to gently keep your body moving. Take walks, stretch, eat nourishing food, even if it's simple. Keep your doctor informed about how you're feeling, not just physically, but emotionally. Depression in older adults is often overlooked because it gets chalked up to just getting older. But your mental well being matters just as much as your physical health. This is also a good time to reconnect with spiritual or faith practices if that's something that has ever brought you comfort. Meditation, prayer, attending services, or even just sitting quietly in nature. These moments can be deeply healing. They remind you that while the person you loved may be gone, the love itself isn't. The love stays. It surrounds you. It becomes part of the way you move through the world. You are not broken. You are not finished. And certainly, you are not alone. Sometimes, the most healing thing you can do is help someone else. When you share your story, When you tell someone, I have been there and I made it, you become a light in their darkness. Whether it's a neighbor, a support group, or even someone online, your experience can be someone else's comfort. And let's not forget to celebrate what you have already overcome. You have adapted, you have cared, you have endured, and now you are choosing to live, not just exist, but live. This is courage, that is strength, that is love, continuing through you. So take that next step, no matter how small. Be gentle with yourself. Talk to someone, try something new, and never forget you are not alone. Others are walking this path too, quietly, bravely, just like you. Here's to healing, here's to hope, and to living your best life. No matter your age, no matter your past, you are still becoming, and that is something beautiful. Thank you, and see you in the next video.